My name is Kira, and I'm in my second year of psychology.
Hi, I'm Nick. I'm in the business program here, and I really like getting outdoors and doing things like skiing, adventure type activities.
My name is Heather. I decided to come back to school. I have a degree from NAIT in construction engineering technology. And so I've been working in the construction consulting industry for a bit, and I've decided to go back to school for environmental science. So I'm transferring to the University of Alberta.
I found that it was a totally new environment from high school. There were like so many, more like a much larger student body, more demographics to contend with, and it took me probably until the end of my first semester until I actually was comfortable with that environment and kind of, knew how to handle myself, because, this is like your first real step into adulthood, so you sort of have to find your own way. But again, with the support services there, it isn't that bad at all.
It is different from high school in terms of there's no defined program. You get to pick your courses, things like that, to a certain degree.
At first, it's going to seem really hard, and it's going to seem like you can't do it, but I promise you, you can, and you just have to keep working and keep going, and you'll be able to do it, and it's not really as bad as it seems in the moment, and you just need to know that this is just a short time, and if it's stressful, but you just need to breathe and just keep going.
I think the most important thing is just try and be relaxed during your first few days. Like, just think about, okay, what you need to do, and keep in mind, like, have a list of like the top places you can go to for help, and that will be like huge to you into transitioning to university life. I did very well in my courses, but that probably would not have been, as possible if there weren't like so many great profs I had. Like, their teaching style and focus on teaching really makes everyone feel, important and valued when they come to class. And, just the fact that they're so approachable and open for assistance is a great thing. And the number of university events that they have, especially with new student orientation, to integrate you into the environment, really sets you on the path for success.
I didn't really realize how much university is like a cycle of like really busy and then not so busy and then really busy and then not so busy. I was kind of used to like more of a like steady pace during like high school, so it was kind of an adjustment to kind of get into like the rhythm of things, but once you get into it, it's like really good and like really easy to kind of deal with. So
first of all, they can expect that a lot of your time is going to be devoted towards your work. I mean, there's opportunities both on and off campus to balance that, but you really should be looking at your academic endeavors on a day-to-day basis and make sure that you are keeping up, and reading ahead or reviewing what you covered in class day after day is really good, just to not only know what was talked about, but also kind of really, it allows you to get into good habits, and then that also in turn will reduce the stress tremendously. So good habits with academics really go a long way.
Just planning ahead and knowing what's coming, and knowing that this week is going to be really hard, but then next week isn't going to be hard, and like just knowing that there are times that are going to be busy, and you just know that it's like there's an end in sight.
First of all, I want to share that MRU is probably one of the most inclusive environments I have ever had the pleasure to be a part of. Like, you can pass somebody in the hall and they will guide you in the right direction, or you can go to any club function, feel welcome there. And there's so many support services that you really don't ever have to feel like you're, you know, left out of anything that might be there for you.
I made some really good friends. Like I joined clubs and like had a really good time and kind of found where I fit in. And so I made really good friends.
It's a really open, friendly environment. And in your classes are small, the women are mature and the men are mature. And you kind of, for me, it's something that I'm having to get used to slowly.
Yeah.
Just get involved in something, and whether it be like a club or a sports team or something, or even like make a study group or something, just find a group of people you really enjoy being with, and then they'll be like really good friends. I can't say enough about joining clubs. Like, it's really a good thing. Like, it just gets you with a group of people and you basically make a whole bunch of friends and you're just with like-minded people, and it's really been helpful for me. First of all, there's accessibility services, so you can get your accommodations and that. And also, if you need like other resources to help your learning, like a laptop or like a Dragon Dictator, stuff like that, you can get that set up. Also, what's really helped me is my academic strategist, and we kind of go through what's going on in my schedule, and she kind of helps me keep on track with my studies and just like helps me be successful. And so those are really useful. And also, if you're having like issues that aren't necessarily academic and more kind of like mental and more like you're just having a lot of stress, there's also counseling services.
First of all, accessibility services is a very important resource. Definitely register for that and make sure that you have the right accommodations set up so that you have like whatever extra time on test or certain accommodations for disabilities so that you know that your test writing experience is good. And the biggest person you want to connect with on that is your access advisor, who will get that all sorted out with you, either through appointments or they can even meet with your profs if there's an issue. The second resource I'd probably recommend is an academic strategist. It was huge in my first year, getting me into those right habits about how to plan out my study week, or even just explaining what I learned to my strategist was good and kind of helping to, retain that information. So that was huge. And wellness services is definitely a good place to go if you feel anything you want to talk about with anyone that's kind of personal to your academic or personal success. It's great. There's so many services. So if you make the most of them, then you'll have a very enjoyable time here.
If you get set up with your accommodations at the accessibility services, it just makes or breaks your school year. You have to have everything also lined up, and the sooner you do it, the better. I don't know why people will go and do it like right before finals.
Yeah.
And find out that they don't have their doctor's notes.
Do it like
like
right away. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah. I've done it like sometimes months in advance and just be like, here's my papers because I'm going to apply. No, you have to apply first and be accepted. And the academics strategist.
Yeah.
I just love that service because they also do it based on your needs. The other thing is that the wellness center. They've got the doctor's office there. They've got the optimal therapies. Is that what they're called?
Yeah, I think
The massage therapy,
yeah.
the physiotherapy, things like that. Like for me, I hold my tension in my body. So having a massage is wonderful. It helps you like write better. Like I hold it in my back, so sometimes I can't even take notes. But there are some other things and the wellness center also has the counselors there as well. So in the counseling center, they even have a quiet room. So if you're just need someplace quiet to go and sit and cry and not have people looking at you like you're a freak walking down the main hallways, you can go there. But I find even here people don't judge you. There's a couple of other things, like there's the meditation center, which is just a quiet place to go and just sit. Some of the things I found really helpful is I joined a club because I joined improv because it helps me laugh and learn to talk to people and learn appropriate ways to talk to people. I'm working on it. And so this way you get to know people around campus. And so you're not just sitting there eating your lunch every day in the library. The library is a wonderful place, and the librarians are really caring. I find all the staff here is, I wouldn't use the word all the staff, but 99% of the staff is absolutely wonderful. The other thing is the recreation center is a great place to go let off steam. They even have a buddy sign-up sheet so that if you're new to the campus, don't have a lot of friends, or your friends don't like to work out, you can work out with someone else, and it's a good motivator. Even the information desk or circulation desk at the library, I was a little lost my first week, and I just went up there and I said, I'm trying to find this place, I don't even know the name of it, and they helped me out.
Being in residence has let me see like even more of the support because I have less support from my parents, and I'm leaning more on the school now, and so it's kind of like I've living in residence, I've seen more resources than I would necessarily have as a student.
The third floor is often the quietest floor if you just need to go and study somewhere, and that goes for pretty much all buildings, I find.
Yes, the third floor is very quiet, and they also have lots of quiet study spaces, so you can study just about anywhere.
I've also found you'll start to learn that not all quiet reading rooms and things like that are not all quiet just the way that they're designed and things like that. Like I have hypersensitivity, so I pick up on that, and you'll just kind of start to learn little tricks and things that what works for you, what areas work for you.
I like walking down Main Street because there's always something happening usually, and like there's usually something interesting going on Main Street, and that's a good way to like connect to people and learn new things and stuff. Also, there's lots of stuff usually going on in Wickham, so if you're like usually around lunch, like if you want to meet new people and stuff, like try not to spend lunch in the library or stuff like that, like go to Wickham, and even though it's kind of crowded, just kind of go there, and you kind of get the campus experience there. And also I like studying in the library because it just makes me feel more productive because like everybody's working, so you kind of feel like you're all together doing something even though you guys are working on like separate things, and it kind of makes me feel a little more motivated. And if you need like a quiet space, second floor EA is usually pretty quiet, and second floor W wing is usually pretty good for like if you just need a relaxation time. I think A lot of profs that I've had are really intuitive about that, and if they see that the class is losing interest and that, because you're usually not, like if it's been 2 hours, you're usually not the only one that is losing interest and that is very like, and that is getting distracted. So they usually are like, okay, we'll have a break or we'll end class early or something like that if a lot of people are getting distracted. But I think just like, yeah, just explaining to your prof either in person or via an email, or if you're having like issues with that, you can even talk to one of your strategist or something and just ask for like assistance on how to discuss that, and like just be like open with them and just say, this is how I'm feeling. Like I can't, like I like your course, but I can't sit for 2 hours. Is there a way we can change this? Or like without being disruptive, can you accommodate this somehow? And I haven't had a prof that hasn't been accommodating to me. And I know there are some out there, but like I haven't encountered one, and usually they're pretty good about giving you what you need.
I think the most important thing is the increase in the workload is quite significant. You will, like some courses really expect you to be doing like 2 to 3 hours or so of studying like every day just to make sure that you're proficient at it. So managing time is a huge thing. Also because you're now an adult, the onus is on you. So, you know, try and be as like independent as you can, because you're ultimately transitioning into the workforce and kind of going about your own way of life. So, you know, trying to do everything kind of very independently is huge for parents to be aware about.
Even in high school, we're kind of started to be edging towards being treated as adults, but we really aren't. Whereas post-secondary education is adult education. And it might be different for me because both my parents are educators and old school educators. And yet I'm living in a different time zone from my parents, and I still get phone calls. How are you doing? Are you eating? What's your bank account like? So it's really, you can't behave like an adult if you're treated like a child, even though you are someone's child. So it really has to do with that family dynamic of letting the bird fly, but still making sure that that bird is okay. So there's that being there to listen rather than lecture. And I know that's always a very difficult and touchy area.
It's gonna be hard, like there's definitely gonna be that adjustment period, and you just kind of need to encourage them and just have them keep going. And like, they're gonna be stressed out for the first like month, maybe even the first semester, possibly even the first year. It could, like, depending on how long it takes them to adjust, it could take a while, but like, you just need to like keep encouraging them, and eventually they'll get into like the swing of things and they'll understand. Usually you have a lot of stuff due around the same time. So if you like, probably get your child's schedule. And if you know they have like a midterm or like a paper or something, maybe ease up on like, you didn't do the dishes, and maybe just let that slide for like a day until the midterm is over, and then you can harp on them about the dishes again.
it has to be realized that if we're really, really stressed, it might be that we're not doing those self-care things. We're not looking after ourselves very well. And I know I'm very, very, very guilty of this. Like, I get too wrapped up in my studies, and therefore I'm actually not doing as well in my studies because I'm too stressed out and too focused in on my studies. And I need to take a step back from my studies in order to get back into them. Parents need to realize that by worrying about how well we're doing in our studies, it's also hindering our ability to do well in our studies.
You're not going to go right into a new experience and be like perfect at it. You're obviously going to make some mistakes, and you're going to learn what to do and what not to do, and that's kind of the process, and you have to let them make those mistakes, and you can't kind of protect them from making those mistakes, but obviously help them if they need it, but don't be too pushy and don't like force your help on them.
One of the big ways is to kind of, withdraw some of the things that, the parents would do for the student, like say, okay, you have to plan out your own day, or you have to decide what you want to do at one time, and just really kind of impress upon them the importance of kind of planning out how they want to go about their day. And it's parent support is definitely necessary, but to avoid smothering, just kind of respect that, that now that you're an adult, you are going to make your own choices about how you want to go about it, and only you can really decide, based on like what you truly want to do. So that's probably the most important thing, is to kind of, for parents to give that respect. Don't be afraid. I mean, there may be some horror stories with post-secondary life, but really this is like the kind of campus for like overcoming those problems or issues. Just feel confident that your son or daughter is going to like a really accepting university. And I mean, there's like countless workshops every week on Main Street to educate people about some of the current university issues. So, and again, like the student outreach program, it helps ensure that the campus is really safe. So I think the best thing is to just kind of, again, be relaxed with this whole process and know that there is support both, on and off campus, and yeah, just go with it kind of a thing.
I just want them to kind of keep in mind that like everybody's different, and you kind of might have to make little adjustments for like different students in your class, and that not to like paint every student with the same brush, and like there are differences.
Having a disability, it's not a big thing. It just means that you need certain mechanisms to help you achieve at the same level as any other good student in the class. So just kind of be very accommodating and willing to listen to any of the students' concerns or any needs they may have.
I define how AS affects me. I don't let AS define me. And I am a person first and foremost. I am a student when I'm in this building.
If I need to, I sometimes, like when I'm writing notes, I sometimes doodle. But I try not to like let it distract me, but I kind of just, like I'm still listening, but I'm doodling. And I also tap my toe inside my shoe so that you can't tell.
It may seem odd that throughout the semester I may move seats where a lot of students tend to stay in a seat, but it might be because someone behind me is using a keyboard, a laptop, and I know it's their right to use a laptop, but the clicking of the keys is bothering me. So I know that it's I'm extremely highly sensitive person. So those little side conversations really, really bother me, even if no one else notices that anyone's talking.
Also in like long 3-hour lectures, giving breaks is great. So then you have a chance to talk if you need to talk, and you have a chance to like move around, because for me, I find it really hard to sit for 3 hours and I'm like, I can't handle this. So like, it's really good when they break it up.
Incorporate people with AS, ADHD into the classroom, and when the lecture is going on, communicate with them and treat them as you would any other student, because we essentially are all the same. We just have different ways of functioning. So just really make it equitable environment, and if they're, and turn obstacles into, ways into like possible routes to success in that class.
Not only do we want to be treated like every other student, but also think about how you're treating the other students too.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I ask a question in class and the instructor will be quite rude in the response. And it's just kind of like, really, how would you like to be treated? Like, do you remember sitting in this chair and when you were a student? And what would your response be?
Kind of be flexible and be able to like, not necessarily like tailor assignments to students, but like be able to like talk to students and just kind of be open and respectful and like all that with students, and know that there are differences, and just kind of have a talk with the class like before and be like, this is a safe space. We're not gonna judge anybody, and if you make mistakes, that's okay. Just make sure that everybody in the room knows that there's no judgment and that we're all just kind of trying to learn, and some people pick things up like faster than others, and just not to judge or any of that, and just kind of keep it an open and safe environment.
One thing I was told about when I first came here is if you have like a habit, for instance, of when you raise your hand and you answer a question and you go on and on and on, the good thing to do beforehand is have like some kind of code or signal with the professor, so that like sit down with them privately and say, okay, if I'm like going on and on, could we have like a certain way of communicating that without everyone, without kind of embarrassing me? Like, if I'm talking, could you say like, okay, that's an interesting point, and let's talk about that more after class, like something that's really, subtle that the other students can't see. So kind of having a dialogue privately with them is huge. And I guess for professors, making sure that they're available and being clear about when their office hours are and things like that, so that you can have those conversations to make the class environment suitable for you. The best way to do that is to have a lot of areas for discussion, because there is a difference, I think, between discussion and just asking a question. Like, if you say, okay, can someone tell me what this is, like name this, that's like a direct question. If it's a class where, he'll go through a certain section of the lecture and then say, all right, any thoughts on that? Then, at least incorporating that into the lecture is good. I mean, some classes it's easier, some it's not, but if a prof can do that to the best of their ability, it goes a long way into creating an inclusive learning environment.
People just speaking out of turn, those side conversations at the back of the room, they have to be not permitted in the first place. So like that first class where you sometimes go for like not even 5 minutes, that's when you can establish classroom rules and things like that. And I think that's what's really, really important, because that's when you establish a safe learning environment. And that's when you establish, this is what we're going to learn. This is how we're going to learn it. This is my classroom. I'm the boss, not me Heather, but the instructor. And that's when it will keep me from telling other kids to shut up. And I won't undermine you as the professor. I won't look like the crazy girl at the front of the class.
Yeah.
Even though I may be. I can be closeted crazy.
For me and for people with autism, like social things are most stressful. And so, like, especially if you don't have a friend in that class, it's really useful when, at least with my experience, when professors just choose the groups. It kind of takes the pressure off me having to go find a group and like introduce myself and like go through that whole like awkward interaction of, do you have a group? Can I be in your group? And like all that I did in like junior high and stuff, and not make me feel back in middle school. And just like, yeah, having a set group is really useful. And also having set like even just a little bit of class time to work with your group, because the whole stressful part of groups is like setting up time to meet outside of class, and if like time permits, maybe having a class to work in the group, because like not everybody has such different schedules, and that just causes so much stress trying to like coordinate schedules. And like obviously the lecture material is important, but like maybe incorporate a joke or something, or like not be too serious. And like if you're also this, like I know this might be like your like 10th time telling this information, or like 100th time teaching this class, but like if you teach it like you're enthusiastic about it and and are really excited, then I know for me, I'm more apt to listen to you, and I'm more inclined to listen to what you're saying, and I'll pay attention more closely if you're like enthusiastic. For me, what's special about being at Mount Royal is a lot of like, whenever we have class discussions, and how everybody kind of has a different perspective and a new thing to add, and I really enjoy that. I enjoy participating in class discussions. I enjoy like having class discussions. So when courses incorporate that, it's really like interesting to me, and I like giving my opinion, and I like hearing other opinions. I'm willing to put in the work, and I'm willing to like go to class, and I'm willing to write that paper as long as I'm interested. Like I have a lot to offer because of what I've gone through, and so I want to give back.
When I switched from engineering to a major in physics and a minor in math, all of a sudden I was getting B's, and the other students were coming to me for help.
You know, make sure that you reward yourself for your hard endeavors, because that helps increase motivation and satisfaction. So.
And I sat there with each and every professor at like a round table, and I just said, oh yeah, this is me. Yeah, you can expect this. If I do a tick, that's just because my neurons are firing a little weird. Oh, and by the way, if you meet one person with AS, you've met one person with AS. So if someone comes along 5 years down the road, throw everything out the window.